Today we are going to be beginning our second lesson of our unit. Our learning target is listed up top on the screen. Our learning target is we will sketch polygons with a given number of sides. Now I know you might be thinking, Ms. Brocker, I already know how to draw all of these shapes. And yes, you may, but you're going to be using these shapes and your knowledge of them in a different context when it comes to identifying and maybe even drawing nets of three-dimensional solids. So we need to make sure that we especially build on our background knowledge and really tap into that. Today is kind of like a review lesson, but you will see in your independent practice a couple of the ways that you're going to be applying that to our lessons later this week. We're going to start by sketching some very basic plane shapes. We're not going to be drawing any three-dimensional solids today. On the left side of your screen, we're going to be starting with a triangle. Now you know already, because we have done our area of triangles unit, that there is lots of different types of triangles. You might see in three-dimensional solids all kinds of different triangles, such as equilateral triangles or right triangles. But what we need to really focus on is that triangles have three sides. They are three-sided figures. So on your independent practice, all you're going to do is identify and draw triangles. There are lots of different varieties that you already know. Okay. Next, we're going to move on to this. You might be thinking, oh my goodness, Ms. Brocker, I learned how to do this in kindergarten. Yes, I know that a lot of you have background knowledge on this. We just need to make sure it's solid before we apply it to solids. So a square, you know, is a four-sided figure where all of the sides are equal. And I'm going to try and draw these as best I can today with the marker that I have, but they will not be perfect. And that's okay if you're in your Google document and you are noticing that the drawing tools are a little bit difficult to work with. Just try your best. Okay, and moving on, the same thing with these polygons. We know that rectangles are also four-sided, and the way that they differ from squares is that opposite sides are equal or opposite sides are congruent, same size, same shape, and you know that there are lots of different varieties of rectangles, and you will see many of these in our solids unit as faces or parts of solids. Okay, now here's where it gets a little bit tricky to draw these. So I'm going to again try the very best that I can, and you will do the same when you get to your practice. Reviewing from yesterday, I see right here that penta, that gives me a hint. Penta means five sides, or a five-sided figure. So I'm going to try my very best to draw one of these. And again, I'm just going to count the sides as I go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I know that's not perfect, and I'm going to double check this right here too, that I got in my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides. They should be approximately the same length. If they're not perfect, that's okay. And there is a pentagon. Moving on, we're going to move on to a little bit more complex polygons. Just because they have more sides does not mean that they're much harder to draw, but it does add a little bit of difficulty to this. So again, just try your very best. I'm going to ask you to recall from yesterday when we worked on naming polygons that hexagons are six-sided figures. Okay, and then just again, like the pentagon, we should be trying to make all of these sides equal. Opposite sides will be parallel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, that's not my best job, but I'm going to leave it there. And then real quick, we're just going to check in, kind of double check our work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm hoping that all of you can draw better hexagons than I can. Okay. And over here on the right side of the screen, we have an octagon. Remember, we are sketching polygons with a given number of sides. So even with the name of this polygon, we should know or recognize, start to get familiar with this vocabulary, that octagon tells us this is an eight-sided figure. Okay, I'm again going to try my very best, and you will do the same thing. And lastly for today, here is a little bit of a preview about how you might be using this, especially in identifying three-dimensional solids. So on the screen right now, you see a three-dimensional solid. I noticed that the faces that I can see 1, 2, 3, 4 faces. 3 of them are rectangular. That means that the name of this solid is going to be a prism. And that I'm going to look at the shape of my base, or the sides that are not rectangles, since I can tell they are not all rectangles, therefore it can't be a rectangular prism, to determine what prism this is. So I'm going to look at the shape of this base right here. I'm going to count the number of sides to name the polygon that makes that base. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And from what we just did, sketching polygons, you know that 6-sided polygon is a hexagon. And that this is named a hexagonal prism.